I don't read all the things written about me. I wasn't aware that the world thought I was so weird and bizarre. But when you grow up, as I did, in front of 100 million people since the age of 5, you're automatically different.
Michael's biopic is officially one of the most divisive movies of the year. If you spend any time watching the reviews here on YouTube, you will notice a very distinct line in the sand. On one side, you have the people who lived through his era or discovered him through this film. They are fiercely defending this movie. On the other side, you have critics who didn't grow up as fans of Michael Jackson, who have very little historical context or who came into the theater with preconceived notions, and they are criticizing it harshly. I personally watched this movie twice, and after diving deep into the history of Michael Jackson, my take is simple. The movie is absolutely worth the hype. Is it perfect? No. Is it my favorite biopic of all time? Not quite. But it acts as both a celebration and an expose of Michael's legacy. And I think it deserves a lot more credit than most of these reviews are giving it. So today I want to break down 7 specific points that prove why this film works, and I want to hear your thoughts on each of them in the comments below. So let's get into it. How do you make a definitive film about Michael Jackson? You are dealing with the most famous person of the 20th century. You have a legendary music catalog that does half the heavy lifting for you, but you also have a life so unimaginably complicated that any honest adaptation would either need to be a 6 hours miniseries or make some brutal cuts that should be creative. And in this movie, Antoine Fuqua made the cuts. Take the example of the Diana Ross subplot that was gone entirely for legal reasons. And my opinion on this, it was actually a good thing for the movie. Including it, it would have made the narrative messy and overwhelming. This film's core focus is about how Michael became Michael. And I don't know if you know this, but the last act of this movie actually contained references to Jordan Chandler and the 1993 allegations. It had to be cut after production wrap due to a strict legal settlement with the Jackson estate. So when critics complain that the film glosses over the allegations, they are missing the reality. Antoine Fuqua's hands were literally tied by legal tape. He made the absolute best version of the film he was legally allowed to make. And for those who do not know who's Antoine Fuqua, he made Training Day, which is his first best movie.
You think you can do this to me?
And Michael Jackson is the second one, and the third one will be Equalizer, but I honestly did not watch Equalizer 2, neither 3. Before we dive into the heavier themes, let's look at what this film is, a cine concert and the celebration of Michael Jackson. The concert sequences are nothing short of extraordinary. My personal favorite, Working Day and Night. Absolute masterpiece, that song. And let's talk about Jaafar Jackson, Michael's actual nephew. Channels his uncle in a way you genuinely have to see to believe. When he steps on stage and the music starts, he isn't just acting. He captures the exact presence, the precision, and the magic that's made Michael a global phenomenon. That identical energy has spilled over into real-world cinemas. This is the first time in my life that I have seen a musical biopic that has made the cinema feel alive again.
You know, and he practiced us with a belt in his hand. And if you miss a step, expect to be
The movie focuses a lot on Michael, but it also highlights the massive looming shadow of his father act after act. Coleman Domingo plays Joseph Jackson, and he deserves massive praise for this role. Is it the absolute greatest performance of his entire career? Maybe not, but given his limited screen time, what he accomplishes is remarkable. Domingo mentioned in an interview that his objective wasn't to make Joseph likable, it was more to humanize him.
To give even more complexity and humanity to a character that I think that people don't look at with nuance.
And I personally believe that he succeeded in that. Joseph Jackson was abusive, and the film doesn't hide it. We see him making his sons work day and night, hitting them and belittling them on screen. The script avoids turning him into a hollow cartoon villain. Instead, it forces the audience to hold two uncomfortable truths at the same time. This is a father who deeply traumatized his children in a way they never truly healed. But he is also the father who engineered his family's escape from poverty.
In August of 1969, Motown Records moved Joe, Michael, and the rest of the Jackson 5 out to Los Angeles.
And regarding this relationship, a question that comes up constantly is, why didn't Michael just walk away once he became a millionaire? Why didn't he cut his father off? Well, if you've never personally lived through a controlling dominance family situation, it is incredibly easy to criticize from the outside. We see in the film how difficult it was for Michael to have a say, to confront his father, or to just walk away. I believe that Michael knew Joseph was the one who put him on the world stage. Ultimately, the film leaves you asking a tragic question. If Joseph had just been content to come home from work and relax, the world might never have known Michael Jackson. And in this role, Domingo balances all of that complexity, the terror, the ambition, and the deep emotional damage, all in a masterclass performances.
Call you Wacko Jacko. It's not nice. I'm not a wacko.
There is a brief, easy-to-miss scene early in the film, where Joseph Jackson calls a young Michael,
Go on, big nose.
It is a fast, cruel comment, the exact kind of offhand remark a parent makes without thinking, and also the exact kind of a scar a child carries forever. Think about the psychological toll. Michael was already under immense pressure to be flawless on stage. His vocals had to be pitch perfect, his dance moves precise, his harmonies immaculate. Yet, inside his own home, the message he received was that his very face wasn't good enough. Michael spent the rest of his life chasing perfection in everything he touched, only for his physical appearance to become a global punchline once he became a superstar. And for 2 decades, the media treated his changing face as pure tabloid entertainment. They even branded him as Wacko Jacko and ran endless before and after retrospectives and picked apart his surgeries, and they never stopped. And almost nobody automated to ask where that deep-seated insecurity actually started, or even his sickness that he had.
In the two of us need look no more.
Interestingly, some of the most compelling eras of Michael's journey didn't make the final cut. The film completely bypasses the early 70s solo press criticism, which is the Ben era, where a 13-year-old Michael made an album called Ben, and also sang a love song to a rat at the Oscars, and also his massive 1985 fallout with Paul McCartney over the Beatles' music catalog. Now, do I wish we got to see the ruthless genius businessman? Absolutely. But leaving this subplot out wasn't just a mistake, it was a narrative trade-off. In a movie that already has a runtime of 2 hours, Fuqua made a creative choice. He sacrificed the external business drama to keep the runtime manageable and keep the spotlight locked entirely on the internal psychological forces shaping the man. It is a massive compromise, but it keeps the narrative from losing its emotional encore.
Do a sort of a tribute in the show for him, but we think of him every moment.
The film does an incredible job humanizing Michael. It definitely paints the surrounding figures with a very generous brush, representing them as angels. And let's talk about the Jackson brothers, who serve as producers on this project. The film frames the brotherhood as entirely unified, but the reality is much more turbulent. Jermaine Jackson went as far as releasing a diss track aimed at Michael in '91. The family dynamic was far from pure, and Michael faced some jealousy from within his own ranks. However, I don't blame the film for protecting them. Those boys grow up under a tyrant and became men who have to live with the weight of how they treated their brother, and dragging them through the absolute worst moments of their childhood mistakes on a global screen isn't necessary. Now yes, the movie generates a lot of money for the Jackson estate, but shielding the brothers feels less like a corporate cover-up and more like a human decency. And then there is John Branca, Michael's longtime attorney, played by Miles Teller. The film frames him as the ultimate loyal confidant, but their actual history is incredibly toxic. Michael fired Branca in the 90s after learning that he was representing rival acts and aligning closely with Sony executives. The breaking point came when Branca demanded a 5% cut of the Beatles catalog. He was fired in 90, rehired in 93, let go again in 06, and brought back just days before Michael's passing. Branca is co-executor of the estate and an active producer on this very film. Of course, he's going to be painted like an angel. And now between the estate, the brothers, and the legal restrictions on the allegations, Fuqua was navigating a minefield. And the fact that he still managed to deliver a movie with this much emotional weight on artistic integrity is an incredible thing. Defending a film doesn't mean ignoring its flaws, and I do have one major critique. The movie spends significant runtime documenting Michael's extensive charity work and his deep connections with children. I personally believe those minutes should have been reallocated to further developing the performance of Giuliano Crovaldi and Jaafar Jackson. Both actors are amazing, and the film should have sat with them longer. It needed to showcase the devastating trade-off of sacrificing a real childhood to achieve a father's grand ambition, which is basically showing Michael losing his youth, breaking away from Joseph, and desperately trying to create a safe childhood environment of his own. And I would like to point that there is a brilliant fleeting visual where a young Michael reading a copy of Peter Pan. The camera pulls back, focusing on his silhouette against the wall. And then we cut to Giuliano's face carrying this deeply disappointed, heavy expression. And to me, that single frame kind of describes his entire inner life. He dreamed of being the boy who never grows up. And I believe that the director clearly understood the psychological weight of that moment. But after planting that haunting imagery, the film immediately walks away from it. And that lack of deeper exploration in the movie is the movie's biggest missed opportunity. At the end of the day, that is where I land. Is it a flawless masterpiece? No. But it is a powerful, visually stunning exploration of a complex legacy. But that is just my breakdown. I want to know what you think. Did the movie live up to the hype for you? Or did you catch something I completely missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. Ciao.